Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Good morning, everyone. My name is Hussein Saoudi. I'm a consultant medical oncology. I practice in Sydney, Australia. I'm the head of the cancer services at Sutherland and St. George Public Hospitals in Sydney. I was tasked to talk to you about the Australian pathway, the accreditation pathway, how to be a physician in Australia. Uh, First of all, I'd like to thank my friend Dr. Nasser Abdel Bari for his kind invitation and the opportunity to talk to you. My understanding that I'm talking to year 5 and 6 uh, medical students. Uh, Before going any further, I'd like to give you a few advices that might help you in your future career. I've been now practicing medicine for more than 25 years, graduated from Cairo University in 1995. So the first advice that I would like to give it to you is that the choice of your specialty is of utmost importance. That's a very important part in your career. It is very important to choose the specialty that you like. Don't lean under any pressure, under any circumstance, and take whatever comes to you. It is very important. Consider this specialty as a Catholic marriage. So you need to live with it. You need to love it. You need to uh, um, tolerate all the challenges that you are going to face in your future. So you can't do this unless you really do whatever you like. The second point is that this specialty will definitely impact your quality of life in the future. So you need to be mindful with that when you are making such a decision. So first advice, specialty is a critical decision you need to make. The second is that you need to do everything possible to be a good physician. That's the key of success. You need to do everything possible to improve your education level. You need to improve your experience. You need to improve your research skills. So do again whatever it takes to be a good physician. The third point is that you need to understand that medicine is an ongoing educational process. So being a fresh graduate, this is the beginning of the journey. All right. So you need to be prepared to um, build up your experience, build up your CV, and improve your skills, um, clinical experience, uh, research capabilities, and all these things that you will need in your future career. So, and remember, that's not gonna end until you retire medicine. The fourth advice is that I know everyone has a dream, and each one of you thinks that living in a Western country is heaven. I don't think this is the reality. I want you to understand that each place has its pros and cons, and you need to um, balance what you want to do in your life. So sometimes people they prefer to live in Western country. They can live with all the challenges. They can accommodate that. Other people they can't. But it's not the end of the world. So practicing medicine in Egypt is not the end of the world. I'm sure you have heard about many successful examples on different physicians that they are working really well and living a very decent life in Egypt. And Dr. Abdul Bari, he can definitely give you successful examples if you are not aware of. So I want you to think before making a decision if you are going to leave Egypt that what kind of package you want to take. So if you want to live outside, then you have to pay the price for that. All right, and nothing is easy. So I don't want to sound like obstructive, but you need to understand that it is a tough pathway. Maybe you don't know until you travel and you see by yourself that life is not easy there. Um, you have to prove yourself. You have lots of challenges. You have to work very hard. Um, I'm giving you this because I moved and lived in several countries. So I've done my master in Cairo University. Then I've done my PhD in France. So I've done my thesis at Saint Louis Hospital in Paris. And I've done training in Institut Gustave Roussy for a couple of years. So, and then I moved to Saudi Arabia. I was consultant at King Faisal Specialist Hospital. Then I moved to Australia. Then I became the head of the department in one of the biggest cancer centers here. So I can tell you exactly that it's not an easy path, and you need to understand that. All right. So that's enough in terms of personal advice, but I was tasked to give you some advice how to be a physician here. So there are three pathways. There is no fourth one. Three pathways to come to Australia. The first one is what we call the competent pathway. So which means that if you have done qualifying exams in certain recognizable countries, for example, US, UK, Ireland, Canada, New Zealand, then you can do the qualifying exam. For example, if you have heard about the PLAB exam in UK, then you can come and apply through a competent pathway here in Australia. And you can apply for provisional registration. And after you work 1 year under supervision, then you can apply for general registration. So that's one of the pathways. The second pathway is the specialist pathway. So if you are highly qualified, you got your master's degree, you got your PhD, you are practicing consultant in your specialty for many years, all right, then you can apply through a specialist pathway. The specialist pathway, and this is the pathway that I applied through, you need to send your medical certificates for source verification through the AMC. Once they become recognized and authenticated, then you are eligible to apply to the Royal College of Physicians in Australia. They are gonna assess your qualifications and they will give you the outcome. The outcome is one of three things. Either you are fully competent to work in Australia with minimum requirements, or you are incompetent, or you are partially compatible, which means that you need to do some further requirements in order to be fully competent to practice in Australia. So if you are deemed incompetent, you can't apply again. So if you get competent with minimum requirement, then it's your call to find a job. And currently the expiry period for the eligibility to practice is 2 years. So which means that if you are deemed eligible to practice in Australia, you got 2 years to find a job in order to be eligible to work here, which is very tough. Okay. If you are partially comparable, then you need to meet the criteria before you are deemed fully comparable to work in Australia. Partially comparable, they might suggest that you need an extra 1 or 2 years of training. For example, I'm talking about oncology because this is what I know. Each faculty or Royal College has its own requirements, but the three outcomes are exactly the same: either fully comparable, incomparable, and partially comparable. All right. So we have spoken about the competent pathway, spoken about the specialist pathway. So these are the least commonly opted pathway to apply through. So the most common pathway that people usually apply through at your age is the standard pathway. The standard pathway, if you are a fresh graduate, you need to apply to the Australian Medical Council, or what we call the AMC. First, to verify your credentials and your certificates. Luckily, the faculties of medicine in Egypt thus far, they are recognized in Australia, so you should not have a problem. And what you're gonna do, you're gonna send the your bachelor degree and the internship degree and everything you have done for verification, and you're going to pay the fees for that through the AMC. So what do you need to practice in Australia through this pathway? First, you need to pass, after doing the source verification, you need to pass what we call the AMC Part 1 exam, which is an MCQ exam. It includes, from my memory, I think it includes 150 MCQ questions. You need to pass that in order to be eligible to practice in Australia. The second requirement is the language. You need to pass the IELTS test or the OET exam. The IELTS test used in the past, you need to score 7 in 4 compartments. Currently, you can get the 7 score for 4 compartments on 2 occasions. And the OET, you need to get B score as a minimum requirement, which is not difficult. So if someone finds difficulty in getting the IELTS exam, he can apply through the OET exam, which stands for Occupational English Test. So after you get your you pass your AMC1 and the language test, then you can apply for a job. Once you get a job, then you will get an offer from the hospital, and once you get the offer, you can apply for what we call limited registration. The hospital, if it offers you a job, they can offer you a visa. It's called short stay visa for 2 years. All right, and then you can apply for limited registration, and then you start preparing for traveling to join the work. Usually the academic year starts in February each year. Okay, so after that you need to complete 12 months of working under supervision. All right, and during these 12 months you need to prepare yourself to set the second exam, which is a clinical part of the exam, AMC2. And I think this is the tough part of the story, because you are trained to sit an exam in a completely different way where the Australian medical students, they sit their exams. It's a matter of style. So these 12 months are very important for you to gain these skills and to know how to sit the clinical exam. Some people, they find it difficult to pass the clinical exam in such a way. So an alternative way, that's the good thing in Australia, that there is always alternatives. You can set what we call work-based assessment. So which means that you can go and work in a regional hospital outside the big cities. There are specific cities that they are eligible to sit this kind of exam, and you do assessment every 2 weeks or 4 weeks. Your supervisor is gonna assign you a case, and you're gonna do the test, and then he's gonna give you a report. At the end of the 12 months, you're gonna get number of reports, and you send them to the registrational body that you fulfill the requirements, instead of sitting the clinical exam at one setting, which is much more difficult. Another option, if you think that you are fit enough, you can do the MCQ exam, and you can do the clinical exam and the language tests before you travel. And the advantage of this, that when you apply to the job, the chances is higher, and then you can apply also for a provisional registration rather than limited registration, and you just finish up the 12 months, and after completion of 12 months of supervised training, you can apply for general registration. So the bottom line of the story is, you need to get a general registration in order to practice medicine in Australia. After you get your general registration, you have 2 pathways. If you want to continue in the hospital, then you apply with the Australian medical graduates for jobs, all right? And then you start your training in this career. The easiest specialties that you can find a job, because the Australian, they find it really tough and they don't want to do it, is the emergency and the ICU. And I can tell you here, there are a number of hospitals in Sydney and big cities, they are full of Egyptian doctors running ICUs and emergency departments, which is a shame. But anyway, I'm not talking about that today. Um, so if you get your general registration and you want to continue in the hospital career, then you apply through the college that runs this specialty. Okay, so for example, the Royal College of Physician, and then you apply through them. You see the training program and you apply, you will get the position and you will finish your training. After you finish your training, then you will become a specialist in this area. All right, I can't talk about each specialty because each specialty has its own requirements. So you need to read and you need to know what are the requirements down the track before making this choice. If you want to pursue a GP pathway after you get your general registration, you need to sit an exam which is called PISCI. Okay, so PISCI is like an interview exam for each site. Okay, to before practicing as a GP. But if you get your general registration, it's much easier that you join the Royal College of General Practitioners, and then you can join a training program for GPs. They will assign you to certain training sites, and after that you start doing your training. You finish up your training in 2 years and then you become a GP there. All right, it's very successful area. Too many people, they want to do it. The advantage is that you can control your time. You work from whatever, from 8 to 4, 8 to time. You can control your time. You work over the weekend. You don't work over the weekend. It's up to you. And you don't have on calls. And so that's another option. And you can make good money as well. So that's from the scientific viewpoint, talking about the social life here. So Australia has different states, big areas. It's almost like the United States in as land area. But the big cities are Sydney, Melbourne, Perth, Darwin, Hobart, okay, and Brisbane in Queensland. So each state has a capital. New South Wales is the state. Sydney is the capital of New South Wales. Melbourne is the capital of Victoria. Brisbane is the capital of Queensland. Darwin is the capital of Northern Territory. Hobart is the capital of Tasmania. And Perth is the capital of Western Australia. Adelaide is the capital of South Australia. So big cities, the competition is higher. Regional places, the competition is much um, easier. So always people coming from overseas, they find their places in regional areas. The regional areas are fully equipped, they are well established. The only thing is that the community is less multicultural. So you will find more Australian people living in regional, particularly retiring people. They want to live in regional areas away from the traffic and away from the crowds. So the advantage of living in big cities like Sydney, Melbourne and stuff is that you have a multiculturalism. You will find Muslim community, you will find Christian community, doesn't matter the religion is. You can make friends easy. You will find any kind of food. You'll find better schools for your kids. So that's the advantage. The disadvantage of living in big cities are the taxes are quite higher, much more expensive, lots of traffic. So imagine as if you are living in, for example, I can't say Cairo because Cairo is so crowded, but a city like Cairo and, for example, another city like Suez, for example, which is less traffic, less people, less in everything. So, but each one you need. I don't think you need to think twice. If you are coming to a Western country, you need to take the chance and you need to take the opportunity. Whatever comes to you, you need to take it because you don't have the luxury to pick and choose at the beginning. So once you finish your training, you will have the luxury to pick and choose wherever you want to live. All right, but this is in nutshell. The advantages of Australia, in general, it's a lovely country, it's a beautiful country, it's a safe country. It's not like the US. People are killing and shooting every now and again. uh, the people are very nice here. I would say racism is minimal. um, um, the drawbacks of living in Australia, it's very far. It is 14 hours from Dubai and another 5 hours from Dubai to Cairo, plus the jet lag. So it's at, at best 24 hours flight. So that's another disadvantage. The second disadvantage is that it is damn expensive. So yeah, you are gonna get very good salary, but it's a very expensive country. So if you don't work, you can't live. That's another thing. The third, you can't make lots of money in Australia because of the taxes are quite high. You will have a very decent life, you will live a very nice life, but you'll not be a millionaire. Okay? So sometimes people in Egypt, and they laugh when I say that. Sometimes people in Egypt, they make more money. All right? If you are looking for money. Okay, but the package as a whole is very reasonable. If you like to have a very good work-life balance, you have a decent money, you have a safe environment, living in a beautiful country. So this is all what I would like to say in terms of social, from the social perspective. um, I hope you find this information helpful to you. I'm happy to be contacted if you need any advice. um, you need to read, you need to see the websites. The websites are very helpful. Everything is mentioned and clear. So for example, the amc.org.au is very helpful. medicalboard.gov.au is very helpful website. There are lots of YouTube channels. You can see how to pass the AMC exam, part 1 and part 2. All right, so that's all what I would like to say today, and good luck, and thank you, Nasser, again once more for the opportunity to talk, and happy to be contacted if anyone needs specific advice. Thank you and good luck.